man, it's so good to be back here at the Bike Show studios. I've been away for a couple of weeks, and thanks to Donovan and Harry for looking after the place. They say it's been a time of complete happiness and relaxation, mainly, I think, because I haven't been here. Well, the happiness is going to continue because Harry's buggered off for a couple of days now, and Donovan, well, he's just ridden a bike that is quite probably a life-changing experience.
In 1973, Ducati released their first Desmodronic V-twin, and since then the brand has become synonymous with V-twin performance. They have given Ducati 15 world titles. They have carried the whole brand to a commercial success. But now, that legacy is coming to an end. For this year, Ducati is releasing a new superbike, and spoiler alert, it's not going to be a V-twin. So if Ducati is going to end their V-twin superbike legacy, they thought they'd go out with a bang. They thought they would go out with this. It's the Ducati 1299 Superleggera, the lightest, most powerful, most advanced V-twin superbike ever built. There will be just 500 made, and this is one of the first in the world, having been flown out from Italy a good few weeks before the other 7 are arriving in South Africa. It costs 1.25 million rand, which is a lot, but there's a good reason for that. The design is a smorgasbord of magnesium, titanium and carbon fiber. In fact, this is the first production motorcycle to feature a full carbon fiber frame, including the subframe and single-sided swing arm. It also features a carbon fiber fairing, mudguard and exhaust heat shield. The electronics come directly from the Ducati Corse MotoGP project. The over-square 1285cc V-twin engine makes use of titanium valves, titanium conrods, a lightweight crank, and a host of mods that come directly from the World Superbike, helping it push a mind-blowing 215 horsepower. That's 15 more than the current Panigale R World Superstock racer. This power, combined with a fantastic weight of a mere 178 kilograms, gives this motorcycle the best power-to-weight ratio of any street motorcycle ever built. This machine is a masterclass of performance engineering. Mind-blowing power combined with unparalleled lightweight. And of course they're all numbered. For example, over here it says this one is number 142 of 500. And then there's these carbon fiber wheels, built by carbon fiber wheel specialist Blackstone Tech, whose factory is actually about 20 minutes that way. On each engine you've got a little plaque here where the guy who built the engine signs it. As a matter of fact, this one over here is built by a guy named Carlos. Now that's very handy because if you buy one of these and the motor packs up, you can fly to the factory, find Carlos and give him a slap. So Ducati have worked on this thing painstakingly to make it with as much performance and as lightweight as possible. Then a guy like me gets on and several hard-working Italian engineers kill themselves. The standard Superleggera pushes 215, but this bike is fitted with a full Akrapovic exhaust. So not only do they get rid of all that heavy Euro 4 rubbish, but it also pushes 5 horsepower more. And just listen to the thing. During the testing phase, they did 48,000 kilometers of both track and road testing, making sure each and every component in this motorcycle works properly. The carbon fiber frame saves 1.7 kilograms and was based on the carbon fiber frame used on the previous MotoGP bike. In fact, this frame is more advanced than that of the World Superbike. This bike of course uses full Öhlins suspension, but not just any old Öhlins suspension. The front forks were specially developed for the Superleggera, and they are a full 1.35s lighter than those found on the Panigale R. The rear shock is also special. That spring, instead of using steel like on a normal back shock, this one is titanium. The way they saved weight on this bike was to make absolutely every component slightly lighter. Take the fasteners that hold the fairings and things on. Each one of those would normally be steel, is now titanium. I've ridden many interesting bikes in my life, including a world superbike, and quite frankly, nothing even comes close to this thing. Nothing comes close to not just the performance, but the whole pantomime, the whole theatre behind it. Bravo, Ducati, bravo.
Well, who's a lucky fella then? Donovan. I'm desperate to hear all the details about how mad this undoubtedly was, but before we get into that, just a little point of accuracy. I believe you mentioned that this is the last of the V-twin superbikes.
Well, okay, yeah,
But
Ducati...
it's not really, is it?
What are you talking about? Ducati's coming out with a V4.
Yes, it is. We can talk about that in a moment. Massively exciting news, but it's still not the last of the V-twin superbikes. Have you forgotten 959? They're building that still, aren't they? You will be able to buy it.
959 Panigale is
yes, the Panigale.
It is a bit of superbike.
It's a little bit of a superbike, isn't it?
Bit of
Okay, fair enough. And just another thing, it's probably, I mean, you know what Ducati are like, not going to be the last Panigale, is it? Because I believe there's going to be an FE version of...
they're doing this to torture me, yes.
Don't worry about it. Ducati have been doing this for years. Every time you think it's going to be the last version.
Yeah, no, literally, we finish up this piece, we think this is it, it's done, it's in the bag, and suddenly Ducati says, one more.
Press release, there's an FE, a final edition.
Blast you people.
And then there will obviously be the RFE, which is the really final edition. So what we know is there's a V4 superbike.
SPFE, and then the...
Okay, I'm glad you made a mistake, because you look like you're having far too much fun.
Yes,
Tell me. This is 215 horsepower?
215 horsepower plus the exhaust, that's 220 horsepower. I mean, that's amazing.
So, tell me, I mean, we're always riding superbikes. They are massively impressive, and a little bit of me is quite thankful that we ride them at altitude, Don. We live a mile high,
this is
1,500 meters.
Yeah, it is. It's really high, and every single... You know how it is. You go to a launch down at the coast, you ride the bike, you think, holy cow. Then you get it here, and it's still holy cow, but not quite as holy.
But you can manage it. It doesn't really terrify you.
It's not quite a Deegan holy, you know?
So is this the same thing? Do you wish you'd have ridden it at sea level?
Do you know what? No, I don't want to ride it at sea level. Because I rode it here. It's something like 18% down on power here just because of the altitude. And I was terrified. I was utterly terrified. I was opening the throttle. The front, second gear, you come out of those corners. The front wheel lifts up. Thankfully, it's got the wheelie control. So it goes about 1.5 feet in the air. And then a little light comes on the dash and it just stays there. You keep accelerating until the rev limiter in second gear, use the quick shift up to third, and it just stays there.
I know what you're like on a bike. You always want more. You always want more. This is why we love Don. Did you turn the wheelie control off then?
No. There's a good reason for that, because I am not that stupid.
So tell me, I mean, you've got Kyle Army to yourself for a very short time. You don't want to push too hard. But did you make the traction control work?
Yes, accidentally. The thing is, okay, the electronics, all they say is that some of the technology comes from the MotoGP project. I mean, obviously it doesn't run MotoGP electronics because they're really complicated, but, you know, the technology, it's got a thing called slide control. And there was one time where I came around the one corner, opened the throttle, got a bit too sort of eager. The back end kicked out, and now same as the wheelie control, the back end kicks out to a point, a light comes on the dash, and it stays there.
So you can, in theory, then just keep pinned.
Yeah, and then you go out of the corner. I mean, the one spectator said that he did see a bit of smoke coming from my back tire. I would love to put that down to my rider talent, but I was terrified at the time, and thank goodness for electronics. Suspension,
then, is that off a World Superbike bike, or is it still the same? Suspension and brakes still what you got on the 1299S?
It's not off a World Superbike. It's not quite World Superbike spec, but I mean, those front forks are specially built by Öhlins for the Superleggera. They're much lighter. They've got different technology. The back shock, I think, is more or less the same, but the spring is titanium instead of steel.
Best bike you've ever ridden, or what?
Okay, I'm gonna quantify this for a moment. I've ridden a World Superbike. I once rode, it was a BMW HP4 World Superbike, the one Sylvain Barrier raced. I absolutely adored that bike. I thought I'll probably never ever ride a better bike than that one until this day.
Well, the big question then is, how much is this extraordinary loveliness?
1.25 million rand.
Is it worth it?
Well, my house is for sale.
Well, with it being possibly almost nearly the last of the V-twin superbikes, I suppose we've got to talk about what's replacing it. I mean, your big thing is it's the end of the V-twin line for the big bikes, which it is eventually once they've FFFFFFE'd it to death. V4, I mean, what are we expecting?
Okay, we've only seen so far spy shots. And you look at the actual fairing of that, it looks very similar to the Panigale.
I think maybe there's a thing that they just slapped a Panigale type. It may differ once it comes out.
And I love the way these spy shots always seem to come out at just the right sort of time. You know,
to feed into the marketing machine.
I'm pretty sure there's a man in Ducati going, send secret spy shots, you know?
But I read that, obviously it's going to be 1000cc, because then it's eligible for World Superbikes without having to get all the V-twin limits. But there's even rumours they might do a 1200 for the street.
Well, this is what Ducati do with the V-twins. I mean, they've got a 1299, and that is not eligible for racing, not at World Superbike levels. But what they do is they bring out like an R model, which is 1000cc, and then the road-going bike, I mean, make it a 4-litre for all they care. You can do what you want. And there's
but they'll make enough so that they can go racing.
Yeah, so they'll make enough to do enough 1000ccs to go racing, and the rest just do what they want. Yeah.
Quite excited, isn't he? Feel for him. I mean, he's ridden what is possibly the best superbike in the world. Well, for a week at least, because last week I was in Portugal riding BMW's HP4 race, which I am prepared to argue to the death is just as good, if not better, but more of that next week.